Saturn in Pisces was a spiritual test over the last 2.5 years that most people failed. I mean, let's just be honest here. It's not because they're bad people, it's because they were lied to. They were lied to about what it means to be compassionate, what it means to be awake. Let's break it down. From March 2023 to May 2025, Saturn moved through the sign of Pisces in the United States natal third house. Saturn is a planet of karma, boundaries, reality checks. To the contrary, Pisces has a lot to do with this kind of dreamy energy, this elusive energy, and has a lot to do with spirituality, which can sometimes be murky, right? So what we saw over the last 2.5 years was a test of our own spiritual maturity. It was also a test of our own discernment in a world full of illusion. It was also a test of whether or not we could feel deeply without being manipulated by what we felt. And what we got during this time was a lot of censorship labeled as safety, globalist NGOs who were abusing compassion to exploit crises that were arguably manufactured, for profit, millions dying from fentanyl overdoses, while Big Pharma was still cashing checks from the last crisis. We got a mental health crisis that was more medicated than healed. And we have seen the collapse of the Department of Education as they hide behind PR spin. As a lot of people argue that these children here in America were not being educated, they were being indoctrinated. Big difference. Pisces rules dreams, illusions, media, and mass psychology like mass formation, psychosis. And Saturn walking through that big fog over the last 2.5 years has meant one thing. The illusions had to break or break us. And what did it reveal? That empathy was weaponized. Truth was algorithmically suppressed. That too many people outsourced their conscience to groupthink and a narrative. They didn't question, they complied. They chose comfort over courage, groupthink over God. That is not compassion, it's spiritual bypassing in disguise. So if you were somebody who lost friends or family during this time, maybe you questioned everything that you were told, maybe you faced emotional overwhelm, spiritual fatigue, but you still stood in your truth. Well, congratulations, you passed the test, even if it broke your heart. Because Saturn in Pisces did not ask you to be perfect, it asked you to be sovereign, to separate intuition from indoctrination, and to reclaim compassion without falling into delusion. Now, this May, we're headed into Saturn in Aries. No more testing of these things. Now it's about action. So ask yourself, did you integrate the lessons you learned from Saturn in Pisces? Or are you still looking for a savior in a sea of illusions? If you want to know what comes next with Saturn in Aries, make sure to follow me for the next video.